What it do, bruh? Talk of the town, Nintendo, Doc Trey, still holding it down, still make the best games, and you know this, bro. It's the truth. If you don't like it, you can have that seatbelt.
Alright, so we have the big rumor or leak or whatever you want to call it, that to celebrate Zelda's anniversary this year, Nintendo will be releasing a remake of the greatest game of all time. Zelda Ocarina of Time. According to Nate the Hate, who is currently the most reliable leaker in existence, has stated that Zelda Ocarina of Time will be getting a remake, and that remake will be released this year during Zelda's anniversary. And there's been questions of how this will play, how this will look. Will this be a simple remaster? Will this be a ground up remake? Will they change game mechanics and what have you? But another big question, and a question that's been posed to me personally by a few people, is who do I think, or who is actually the studio making this game? Because it's obviously not going to be the main Zelda team. While the Zelda team will oversee the remake, they aren't going to necessarily be the developer making the game. And I've seen a lot of people that think that Monolith Soft would be the developer of this game, to which I don't think so. Now, Monolith Soft earlier this year was talking about a lot of things that they're involved in regarding Zelda, but that's probably because it's Zelda's anniversary. Now, I personally don't think that they are the developers behind this remake, because they're busy helping the Zelda team make the next Zelda. And a lot of you guys are probably like, well, maybe they're using this to get themselves familiar with Switch 2 hardware and get them ready for the next Zelda, to which I say that's probably what these were for. So, who is making Ocarina of Time remake or remaster or whatever for the Switch 2 this year? I've also seen some people think that it was Next Level Games, to which I say, no, it's not. And a lot of people were saying that maybe it's Grezzo, because Grezzo worked on the Ocarina of Time, the first remake or remaster or whatever, for the Nintendo 3DS. But Grezzo typically works on just handheld or 2D versions of Zelda games. So while the Switch 2 is technically a console handheld hybrid, I don't think it's Grezzo. But who it looks like it may be is actually probably the most obvious answer out there. But a lot of people, for whatever reason, don't want that to be the case. And I'm thinking, only thing I can think of is maybe because their last game that they did for Nintendo wasn't entirely greatly received, but it wasn't really because of the quality of the game or the port, but more with how much the game cost. So the developer I'm talking about is Tantalus Media, who worked on Twilight Princess HD, who worked on Skyward Sword Zelda HD, and most recently made Luigi's Mansion 2 HD for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this game got a lot of heat on the Nintendo Switch, but it wasn't because of the quality of the port. They took a 3DS game and made it look and perform a lot better. Now, the bad reaction that it got is because the game, of course, did not look as good as Luigi's Mansion 3, and they charged the same price as Luigi's Mansion 3, which was the problem. If this port had been $40, no one would complain. So it wasn't really the quality of the port, it was the fact that Nintendo tried to charge full price for it, and it still did not live up to the quality of the already available Luigi's Mansion 3. Similar to what happened with Donkey Kong Returns on the Switch. Same thing. But the question is, why do I think that is Tantalus Media? Well, I found this. So a developer with Tantalus Media is working on an unannounced project. It says C++ proprietary game engine. Unannounced project. Currently, I'm working on an unannounced project that I cannot share any information on. I'm working hard with the team at Tantalus Media. So, the reason why I think that this could in fact be the Zelda title is because the game is, well, one, it's an unannounced project. It's very secretive, apparently. And also it uses a proprietary game engine. And if you guys have been paying attention to a lot of the games, or most of the games that have been coming out this generation, most of them don't use proprietary game engines. They'll use Unity, they'll use Unreal Engine. But when it comes to proprietary game engines, not so much. Now, Ubisoft has their own proprietary game engines. EA has their own proprietary game engines. But other than that, the majority of games that come out are not going to use a proprietary game engine unless they're exclusive. And this fits the bill of Zelda Remake, Ocarina of Time Remake or Remaster. It's a proprietary game engine. The last game that they worked on was a proprietary game engine for Nintendo. They're the only ones really that worked on HD console versions of remakes or remasters of Zelda for Nintendo. They were handpicked by Nintendo to work on all of these Zelda titles. So honestly, this is the developer that makes the most sense. Now, if it is this studio, that means that it could potentially not be this full ground up remake that people are hoping for. But on the other hand, maybe it could, because this developer has been interviewed quite a few times since releasing their Zelda remakes or remasters. And they've said that they, even back with Twilight Princess HD, that they had a ton of, well, actually hundreds of ideas for improvements, for changes and additions to add to their Zelda HD ports, but that Nintendo turned them down because they wanted to keep the graphics and the gameplay consistent with the originals. They didn't want to change too much of how the game looked and how the game played. But if with this Ocarina of Time HD or remake or whatever, if Nintendo doesn't have that same restrictions, then perhaps they'll let this studio go all out on what they want to do with Ocarina of Time. And they just might, considering that there has already technically been an Ocarina of Time remake. Maybe this is the time where Nintendo is like, well, you know what? Go ahead, go all out with the graphics, go out with the production. And yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. But honestly, this wouldn't be the first time that I found that this studio was making a Zelda title remake. So yeah, the history is there. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Would you be happy if it was this studio that was making the game, or do you not really care? But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. And yes, I do realize that I completely butchered this game studio's name a couple times in this video. I apologize, but I wasn't going to re-record it.